Oh, I love Coldplay. If I'm ever feeling down, that's my go-to band. I used to always tell myself that I was never a freelancer, I was always a solopreneur. I think the biggest mistake that entrepreneurs are making today is the minute you put money into Meta, they understand that this account has money. So they automatically pull down your organic reach.
How do some brands become unforgettable while others vanish overnight?
If you find a place in your consumer's life where you're a need to have and I love it and I absolutely need this product,
What is the biggest challenge you have faced?
I don't usually like to negotiate with people, but then I do land up in the sake of business.
How you have gained 1 lakh plus followers on LinkedIn?
Don't try and fake it. Be as authentic. If you're not reaching your goal, it's just a waste of time. Your team needs to understand your A to Z of your brand.
There is a new trend which I feel that there is this audio thing also, like the Netflix has a ting sound.
I think something like this needs to be implemented early on. It can't be a later thought. You feel that a sound might evoke an emotion because that is the only purpose of it, right?
These brands are changing the logo but slightly color difference, which maybe a normal public will not even
Oh, Walmart is the best example.
So why they do like
Something that you and I will not relate to because they didn't change the logo. They just made it more vibrant, and that could be because they're making a digital first move.
rebranding? I will not say the marketing gimmick of Puma making PVMA.
You are bigger than the celebrity that you're onboarding, not the other way around. When you have a strong brand, you have understood what is the
So hello Vanshika, welcome to our podcast. So how are you feeling today?
very, very hot in Bombay. Wishing the weather was better. But other than that, all good.
So how was your Coldplay show?
Oh, I love Coldplay. I've seen them twice. I saw them once in Boston, once in Dubai. So this is my third experience. I absolutely love them. Like, if I'm ever feeling down, that's my go-to band.
So let's start today's podcast with your journey. So today I am excited for two reasons. One is you are someone who is going to talk about branding, which I really love. I personally believe that it is something which most of the business, most of the startup fail to recognize the importance. And second thing is you're the first one in our podcast who is going to talk about branding.
I love it.
Okay.
Love being the first.
So let's start with your journey, how you ended up with your current venture.
Let's start with the biggest statement that I tell everybody, which was I never wanted to be an entrepreneur because my father is also an entrepreneur and I've seen business happen in the house. And I was like, this is too much work. I don't want to do this.
Okay.
So I never actually wanted to become one. So it's kind of accidental. And I'll tell you how it happened. So I was studying at Northeastern in Boston. I always worked at startups. And then finally, in my last internship, I was like, let me try and see what it's like to work at a big company. So I started working at Dell EMC for their event that used to happen in Las Vegas every year. And what happened was like, I was like, "theek hai, I love it, but not my vibe. I'm a very startup-y person. And I graduated the year Trump got elected. So do the math. And so from there, then the option was either go to Dubai, which is home, or come to live in India with my nanny. So I said, "Okay, I'll come to India. I've never lived in India. And even though I'm Indian, I've never lived here. So I was like, let me try it and see what happens." So I moved here in about March of 2018. And within the first 2, 3 months, I got a job and worked for about a year and a half at 3 companies. And then I was like, I know a little bit, I've understood, I've made a little bit of friends. I was like, I wanted to go in a different direction. And I wasn't able to see that growth that was happening in my career. So initially, the plan was just become a consultant, figure it out, see what your passions are, see if it's working out, and then, basically go for it and see what happens. Um, Funny story. So my mentor, like when I went to him, Saurabh, I went to him and I said, "Ki this is my dilemma that I want to do something else जो मेरे को job में नहीं हो रहा है. Like I'm not able to do what I want to do." So he was like, "Try this out for 3 months. नहीं अच्छा लगा तो go back to a job." I was like, "ठीक है, fair." That 3 months was in 2020 January, and now we're in 2025 January. And do the math, and here we are. But that's basically how I kind of became an entrepreneur. I used to always tell myself that I was never a freelancer, I was always a solopreneur. So I was very clear on that because I don't know, there's a negative connotation attached to freelancer. So I was like, I want to be a solopreneur, which I'm running a business. I'm not here to make a quick buck. Freelancer almost sounds like someone who does a second part-time job. I was like, that's not me. I'm doing this full time. I'm running a business. So it is a solopreneurship. So I started with that. Then dheere dheere I learned about what clients want, how does it work here, how do you build a team, who are the right people, all of that. And dheere dheere karke now it's 2025 and I can't complain.
Okay. So we will now move to the first segment of our podcast, that is the Fab Five segment. So are you ready for that?
Yeah, like go for it. I'm excited to hear the questions you have.
So let's start with the first question of this segment. That is, what is the number one branding mistake that could destroy your startup before it begins?
I think the biggest mistake that entrepreneurs are making today is not understanding who their audience is and why they are buying, right? I think a lot of entrepreneurs, when they come and talk to me for brand strategy, they don't understand how important it is to help them to take the next 10 steps. They look at it as brand strategy is not going to give me immediate money. Performance, I put in 50,000, I'll get 75,000. So, in their mind, the ROI on branding and understanding the audience, which is a core element of brand, is not, they're not able to digest the fact that this is something that is going to pay off in 5 years. Because with performance, you see an instant response. With brand, you're not going to see an instant response. You need a big mix of both. You need to have organic, you need to have paid. But not doing anything organic, not building your brand is probably the worst way to even begin. Because then what happens is, and this is very true, this is not me saying it. The minute you put money into Meta, they understand that this account has money. So they automatically pull down your organic reach. So if you're going to go in with a new brand and suddenly start putting in, say, 5 lakhs, 6 lakhs of money, or whatever that amount may be, you're not even going to give your brand the time to grow itself organically, find its community, let people talk about it, right? All the good things, right? You're just basically hacking the system. And I've also seen what has happened recently. A lot of founders are coming in who are from a growth background, a growth or a performance background, because they understand how to meta, right? But that is not the way you build a brand. Because if you're doing the method of how to meta and build a brand, that means that you're looking at a one time purchase. You're not looking at things like customer love, customer loyalty, customer retention, because you're already paying money to get the first customer, and then uske baad you're spending more money to retarget them to come back. That's not how you build a brand, right? So if you don't understand your audience, why are they buying, what is your place in the market, how are you going to convince them, it it's all just then a money game, right? Then it's a question of who has the most money, right? You could even be like that Super You brand, get Ranveer on board and become a brand ambassador, and that is your brand play. Great. But then you know who it's coming from. Any other company cannot do that, right?
Correct.
So if you have to actually build a brand, you have to put your brains behind understanding who your audience is, why are they buying from me, and how am I making their life better. If these three things are not answered, you're just going to be spending endless amounts of money on Meta and trying to game the Meta algorithm, which is just in my head a little dumb.
Okay. So let's move to the next question, that is, how do some brands become unforgettable while others vanish overnight?
By just going very deep into the consumer's life. If you find a place in your consumer's life where you're a need to have, and I love it and I absolutely need this product, then that's it. That's how you become an unforgettable brand. And the thing is, customers in India, they keep saying like loyalty is dead, loyalty is dead. But loyalty is not dead if you're giving the customer a good product at a good price and you're innovating for them. You're not going to die. Like, you're going to always be in the consumer's heart. So, for example, like take Whole Truth Foods. The other day, I went to the supermarket because I had Whole Truth Foods for a while. Then I stopped having protein bars. And when I went Abhi to the supermarket, I was so surprised to see that they got like 20 different kinds of protein bars. Because when they had just started out around that time, I had tried it out. And I had like one, two, three flavors. Now they've got a whole range. They're doing so many other things. Like I consume their muesli particularly. And like something like food, right? even if it's 500 bucks or 300 bucks, right? I will choose what I feel good eating, right? So even if Whole Truth Foods is a little more expensive than say any other brand, because I like it and my taste buds like it, I will still buy it.
Yep.
So that's what, like, it's deep consumer understanding or on basis what industry you're in, right? So for example, maybe like take for example makeup, right? There's always some new makeup trend, some brand trying to do something great, and that's fine. But like, you have to be tapping into consumers trends when they are happening, because either if you're too early, the consumer is not going to get it.
Yeah.
If you're on the trend and you already have a product, then you'll be evaluated. If you're too late, then nobody's going to buy it.
Correct.
So you have to find that sweet spot. Like, I was talking to an entrepreneur about 2 weeks ago, and she was telling me about how, like, when Korean fashion became like a really hip thing in India, and it still is, like, the trend hasn't died out, right?
Yeah.
And they caught that trend very early, that Korean K-pop, Korean fashion, Korean music is going to kind of kick off. Korean shows like
Yes.
Squid Games and all, right? When those kicked off, they were like, we're jumping on this train, and they went all out. It's a very big bet. But then if it's a bet that is going to pay off and you have enough data proof that this is really what my consumers want, consumer behavior is going to change into this, then that means that you found yourself a sweet spot on a market. So they jumped on that train and now they're doing extremely well because that trend is still not died out.
Yeah.
And it's been almost a year and a half that they've been doing this. And Abhi, even now, there are still things happening in the K-pop, K-show, K-whatever, K-drama. So people are still adopting it. It's still on the rise. So if you find that particular thing that your consumers really want and they're not able to find it somewhere else or find a better alternative, then you've placed yourself in a sweet spot.
Okay. So the next question is about you and about your journey. That what is the biggest challenge you have faced till now in your entrepreneurship journey?
The biggest challenge I have faced. This feels like those one of those like the apprentice kind of questions. But I think honestly, one of the biggest challenges that I have faced is being able to kind of stick to my guns. Because I believe that whatever I price or whatever I commit to, right, I'm going to match up to that, and you're going to see the value in the pricing and in the quotation, in the work, right? Um, I again, because I have a soft corner, I don't usually like to negotiate with people, but then I do land up in the sake of business, giving a discount or trying to add in more stuff so that, because at the end of the day, like, I'm not a multi-million crore business, right? कि एक client चला गया तो ठीक है. Like, I'm still, like, I always tell myself that I'm still in the learning phase. Even though I've done this and been there, done that so many times, I think being a constant learner has kept me grounded. So even I'm learning, but I think the biggest problem that I have and the biggest learning that I have is that some people are very headstrong, and that actually is a good thing maybe in business. It's debatable on both sides.
Correct.
Like, because I want to be able to demand the prices and whatever else, right? Commitments or whatever the way that I want to deal. But there's always going to be a pushback of like, oh, you charge this much, let's do 10% off. And sometimes, I mean, because and also sometimes you just touch wood, find great clients. And you're like, yeah, 10,000, 20,000 ka kya hi hoga, le lenge. So that is also a good instance. But yeah, I mean, I wish I was more able to say no to clients being like, this is my price, lena hai to lo, nahi lena hai to mat lo. And I know people like that. They've built that muscle inside them to say, "Ki, this is my price, you like it, you take it, you leave it." And I'm still building that muscle. I don't know if I'll ever be able to be that headstrong, but I think that's one of the nicest things, but also one of the challenges.
So let's move to the next question. This is my favorite also. Uh, how you have gained 1 lakh plus followers on LinkedIn? What is that secret strategy?
My
Because I also wanted to achieve that target.
my secret strategy is not to use any bots. Don't try and fake it. Be as authentic and honestly use it for the good stuff that it has. And if you're just chasing likes and numbers, you're not going to get anywhere. Because I have seen people, like, I have this conversation almost like once a week with the founder. Okay, there are people getting like 5,000 likes, there are people doing this, there are people doing that. I'm like, जाके देखो उसके comments में क्या लिखा है. Insightful, very good, super post, lovely thing. then एक तो AI generated comment आएगा, so it summarizes the post into 3 lines and is given it back to you. Matlab, and then you also see people using AI bots to read the thing and then just post a comment. So like, you have to look at it from a very critical angle. Do I want to do shosha and tell people कि मेरे पास 1000 likes है, 300 comments है? Or do you want to be like, ठीक है, I have 20 likes and 5 really meaningful comments and I made like 20 good friends? Right? That for me is LinkedIn. Like, I'm in Bombay right now and I'm here for a little while. And I've reached out to people on my LinkedIn. I've reached out to people on my WhatsApp saying, I'm here. I would love to meet up. No agenda. I literally have no agenda. I'm not going to sit with you and be like, आप मेरा client बनो या ये नहीं है, कुछ agenda नहीं है. Come, let's grab coffee. Let's chit chat. Because that is really the use of LinkedIn.
Correct.
And I look at it as a human to human connection. See, like, for example, you know me, I know you. Tomorrow you might have a friend who's starting his own business. You'll be like, oh, I've spoken to Vanchika, she's so nice. And same with you, right? Like, if I see someone in Bombay who's like, I'm struggling with the CA, I will happily recommend you. And all of this happens out of LinkedIn. LinkedIn has become a lot of shosha.
Right.
Because people have tried to hack the algorithm, which is okay. But I'm telling you, as me, like, I mean, I have 106,000 followers. My engagement rate is shit. And I'm being very honest, it is absolutely shit. But at the same time, if you see my DMs, you see the kind of comments, the kind of content I have, the kind of people talking to me, the people that are, like, do this, I want to invite you here, this, that. That is all happening on the backside that nobody can see. Like, in this week, and today is only Tuesday, and I'm talking like literally Monday and Tuesday, I got 3 opportunities to go speak somewhere. I've got 2 client proposal, like me first meet type of things. And they're all happening simultaneously. So
Yeah.
whether my LinkedIn has 100 likes or 2 likes, I don't care.
It doesn't matter.
I write because I want to write. I enjoy writing. It's part of what I call my daily therapy. Like, I feel like I've been doing it for so long that it's become habitual. And when I write, I truly write as somebody whose thoughts can be understood by anybody. I don't want to be that person who's like, oh my god, like, itna complicated Hindi, English, whatever, That's not my vibe. I'm a very, very straightforward, very conversational, very like, I'll break down something simple for you in like maybe 2, 3 paragraphs. And that's just been the vibe. Not that I think that people are stupid or not that I think that people need this or they need to hear this again. But that's just generally the way that I write. And for me, it's all about what's happening on the back end, right?
Yeah.
Because there is no point in having posts going viral and then having no ROI. Why would you do that? Because like, it's an investment in time, it's an investment in your brain. Like, you have to think of a post there, comment back, ye sab karo, and get nothing on the other side.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, I don't really give a shit. And
I get don't
I
understand.
yeah, and I've been building my LinkedIn since the time I graduated, which was 2016.
Okay.
So I've been through the entire journey, no bots, nothing. Like, no additions, no like scheduling tool, even nothing. I use the organic LinkedIn scheduler and that is it. No analytics. I don't care. Even if it says your impressions have gone down, I'm like, great, very good. It means I must have been living life. So that is like in my head, I'm like, अच्छा ठीक है, नहीं पोस्ट किया, मैं कुछ अच्छी कर रही होगी ना लाइफ में. So that is what I think about it. And I think that's the best way to treat it. That it's a human to human place. Don't try and hack it. Don't try and get overly inspired by people that are getting so many likes and views. Ask them कि भाई दूसरे side पे क्या हो रहा है? Are you getting business? Are people reaching out to you?
Yeah.
Are you able to do whatever you want to do, XYZ? Because everybody's on LinkedIn for a reason. If you're not reaching your goal, it's just a waste of time.
So we will now move to the last question. That is, if you had to fix a struggling brand in just 30 days, where would you start?
Where would I start? I would start with just team alignment. I think that is the biggest problem. I think forget brand, forget everything else. Your team needs to understand your A to Z of your brand. They should be able to say it in their sleep. They should be able to walk and talk about it every single day. Because honestly, every single person that is aligning with your team, with your brand to build your brand, has to be on the same page. Forget brand. Brand could be anything. I can teach them that in 5 days, right? But if the team is not aligned on what is the bigger goal for this brand, how are we getting there, what is the voice and tone, that like that alignment, the mind alignment, that is what I would focus on. Forget brand and all of that. That can be dealt with later. But whoever is handling your brand, the brand custodian, they 100% need to be all aligned, irrespective of if they're in-house or outsourced. So I would actually just run a lot of workshops to bring them together. Like, let them make mistakes in a boardroom, right? Let them come up with those crazy ideas and have someone say, no, this is not on brand. Or come up with some good ideas and say, this is on brand. How do we build it further? So I think team alignment is the biggest thing. And that's one of the biggest problems that I've seen. Also, because, for example, I do strategy, I do their logos, I do their visual design. Then they hand it off to X other agencies or in house, right? And then if that gap happens, right, even though we offer, like we started offering 3 months of brand support as part of the project, okay, we'll sit with your team and teach them. But very few people sign on for that. And then what actually happens is we build it in a particular way, thinking of the consumer, the market, this, that, and we say this is the brand. But then they hand it off to someone else and they add their own mirch masala and spices. And then we look at it and we're like, this is not what we had designed. So that is literally where the alignment gap happens.
Okay.
Which is why, like, irrespective of it's a new brand or an old brand, I would literally focus on getting everybody in the office, in the team on the same page and then figure out brand. So like for 10-15 days, I would literally just focus on what do you understand out of the brand and do individual interviews. And then go back to the manager or whoever has hired us and say that your team doesn't understand your brand. How are they going to build your brand? Right? And this only happens when you separate people out. Because when 5 people get together, they come to a consensus which might be 90% on brand. But when I ask them individually, that's when I'll find out where the gap is. And then I'll work on fixing that because everybody is a brand custodian. And if they're not on the same page, you're doing your brand a disservice.
Okay. So, here a small question I will ask. Whenever we talk about brand, normally people think of logo or colors or like the packaging, if it is a product, how it feels. What all other things are there when we talk about brand? And second thing, there is a new trend which I feel that there is this audio thing also, like the Netflix has a ting sound.
Sonic branding.
Ha. So that is also, maybe on a trending side. So really want to know your thought on that. That what are the trending things like this which are upcoming?
Yeah. I think, see, the problem with this whole situation, and it's actually true, is that a lot of the work that is done on the brand internally as well as from us, right? It never sees the light of day because you're not going to publish your brand book anywhere, right? So it's all internal documentation for alignment and clarity and simplicity, right? These are the three objectives. Now, what you see on the outside, which is your logo, your website, your packaging, your XYZ, that is what consumers think is the brand. But that cannot happen without doing this first step, right? So I think that is one. Second thing is that everybody, I think, needs to go back and learn the basics. Like literally, like go back and understand, read the books that people have written years ago because they're still relevant. It's not that it's not relevant anymore, right? Like you could go to anybody that you trust, and there are multiple of them, and I don't want to name because there are some that people like, some people say no. I believe, and I'm not a very uh I would not say I'm a very avid reader, but if I like something, I will spend time to read more and try and dive into it deeper. So I've read a lot of brand related books and even white papers and a lot of brand related stuff to understand different POVs. Because at the end of the day, my goal is to understand what my consumer wants, what my founder who is paying me the money wants, and how can we build the brand, right? So I take it as a kind of pinch of salt and just read everything with an open mind and then make my own decisions. But yeah, I mean, sonic branding, what you were talking about right now, is really picking up, and um, I think it's really cool if done in the right way, right? Because I think something like this needs to be implemented early on. It can't be a later thought,
Yeah.
right? Because what happens is you've already got, say, 50,000 customers. Then you launch a sonic branding and they won't remember it. And the biggest example is Paytm Karo. Like when they released that box, it was already inbuilt. It was not like Paytm Karo came later, right? Paytm Karo was inbuilt. So it was a thought that let's do this. Every time it rings, it'll do that.
Yeah.
Then we have the other one, which is Phone Pay, where Amitabh Bachchan's voice is there, right? So these are very distinct things that people recognize and it can't be an afterthought. So if you want to build a brand where you feel that a sound might evoke an emotion because that is the only purpose of it, right? Like Paytm Karo is just a happy jingle and makes you feel happy, right? And unlike, I think when Paytm does it, it says receive so and so on this Paytm Karo, right? Whereas the Amitabh Bachchan one is a little more serious. It sounds a lot more serious and sounds like somebody's like हमने कुछ गलत किया है. Like, so that is the vibe that they've gone for intentionally, right?
Yeah.
And I think it can't be an afterthought. You're building a brand, you feel like a sound will help you, and you're in a consumer first business, then do it. I mean, and think about it in time. And it could also be something as simple as like for Netflix, it's barely like 5 seconds, 7 seconds. But that sound has become so iconic.
Correct.
Or even like when you watch a Disney movie, a Pixar movie, like these sounds will never leave your mind. And like I said, like it has to be something that is emotionally connecting with the audience. It has to be relevant. It has to, get it tested by like 50, 100 people and see what they feel. Like, don't just throw something in the air and hope it'll fly, right? Get it tested, see what works, and then decide on what you finally pick as your sound.
Okay. So we have concluded the first segment of this podcast. Now we will go to the next segment, that is the elevator pitch, where you have to pitch your brand, pitch your venture in 60 seconds. So are you ready for that?
I do this all the time.
So then over to you.
So, Fingerprint Labs is a brand studio that helps brands find their ideal customers, build customer love, and stay ahead of competition.
Perfect. So now we will move to the funniest segment of our podcast, that is facts versus myths. So let's start with the first statement, that is only big companies need branding.
Myth. Because small companies need to again find their audience, find what's working for their audience, find out why they're better than their competition, how are you going to talk to your customers. So like everybody needs branding. Branding should be the first essential most thing that everybody does.
Great. So rebranding always fix a failing business.
Myth. You cannot fix too many things because customer perception is something that is very hard to change. If I don't like your brand because 10 other people don't like your brand, a rebranding is not going to help you. Like if you're rebranding to evolve the company and make it better, like when you don't have a disaster on your hand, it could work, right? But if you have a disaster on your hand and you're rebranding, it'll just look like they're trying to fix this or they're trying to cover up something. So I don't think it'll work.
But what is your opinion on, because most of the brands are now, the older brands are changed.
They're modernizing.
The-
They're modernizing, which is fine. Like the Jaguar thing when it happened, I and a lot of people said, let's just wait and see what their plans are. Kuch to dimag mein hoga na, why they've rebranded from a very traditional to a modern logo. And sure enough, they launched Jaguar EV and all, which makes sense. So I was like, logically, this makes sense, and there's nothing wrong with the brand. They're not firefighting and then rebranding. They're rebranding to evolve to another customer mindset and another frame of mind for the customer. That's fine. But if you're trying to fix a problem and think rebranding is the answer, I mean, I would literally say you rip the band-aid off, you'll have to change your name. Like, if you're ready to do that, change your name, trash the brand, start from scratch,
Okay.
then we can talk about it. But it's not going to fix anything.
And many times, I go through this Instagram posts where these brands are changing the logo, but slightly color difference, which maybe a normal public will not even.
Oh, Walmart is the best example.
So why they do like something which public can't even recognize?
So for Walmart, what happened in that particular instance, I think it is something that you and I will not relate to because they didn't change the logo. They just made it more vibrant, and that could be because they're making a digital first move. So on digital screens, brighter things look better because of the contrast.
Okay.
So maybe that is why they did it. But to you and I, it would not change our life at all. Like it's the same logo, just looks brighter and maybe a little thicker. Other than that, it doesn't matter. So it's mainly because of moving digital. Probably they're going to, I don't know, do whatever, change some strategy of theirs. And also maybe they wanted to try some new things, new lines, new business. We don't know.
And how you see the latest rebranding? I will not say the marketing gimmick of Puma making PVMA.
I mean, I saw it, I understand why they did it, but I don't understand why you would change your brand name. An ambassador is something which is a contract. Okay, PV Sindhu is going to manage, is going to be part of our brand for like 3 years.
Yeah.
उसके बाद क्या इतना बड़ा publicity stunt करके
Right.
उसके बाद क्या? So now you like it's not like you can keep changing it for every new ambassador. Like I think to be fair, they should not have done it. Also, what I think is this whole thing was a digital first campaign, which I have a real problem with because none of us care. None of us would have known, right? And they've actually done this small thing at maybe a couple of stores just to get people talking about it online and putting in bets and building suspicion. And
Yeah.
some people got it, like I get it, like some people might have made the correlation, but I would think there are better ways to do it. I would not change your core identity, which is your brand name. You are bigger than the celebrity that you're
Yeah.
onboarding, not the other way around, is what I would
But
feel.
is it actually the name has changed?
No,
It's still
it was just a campaign. It's just
okay.
a campaign.
Okay. So the next is strong brand guarantees sales.
That is a fact because when you have a strong brand, you have understood what is the emotional triggers that are going to make your consumers buy. You're going to understand why are they buying from you. You're going to understand again a lot of things that we've talked about, right? So the fact that you have a strong brand means that you're trustable. And in today's day and age, that trust decision is made in under 5 seconds. Do I like it? Do I not like it? Yes or no? Again, depending on the price. But how I feel about a brand will decide if I buy a brand or not. If I feel that the brand is doing something nice, I will probably buy it. If I feel it is nice but out of my budget, it will become aspirational for me and I will buy it one day. If I feel it's nice but it is affordable, I will go buy it. So, how I feel really goes ahead and depicts if you are going to like to buy that brand or not. So, if you have a good brand, chances are you are going to be able to not run behind customers but have customers run to you, which is
Yeah.
the optimum.
Colors in branding really affect buying decisions.
That is a fact because there is a lot of psychology behind what color says what to your brain, right? Red says emergency, green says maybe eco friendly, purple says caring, love, right? Yellow is happy. So it is true. And literally, like when you talk to someone who's a CRO, which is someone who basically sits on your website and helps you to optimize for revenue, that is literally their goal. They will do these tests which might seem really dumb to you and I, but they'll change the CTA color from blue to green. They'll change it from green to purple.
Okay.
They'll change it to yellow to some color. And they find that optimum color which triggers an emotional response to go ahead and buy it. So yeah, I mean, color does play a lot of importance in how we perceive what the brand is. And also, color is remembered before anything else. Like if I ask you what's the color of McDonald's, you'll instantly remember yellow. If I ask you what's the color of, say, so think of like a brand like PhonePe, right? You will automatically remember it's purple. Even if you've seen it once in your life, Paytm is blue. Almost a lot of tech companies are blue for a reason. So there is a sort of code that you have to stick within. Now you can play in that color code a little bit. Like if you've decided blue, now dark blue, light blue, this blue, that you figure out with your designer. But there's a reason why colors are there because it pulls on some emotional chord.
So personal branding is only for influencers.
That's a myth. A, you build a brand and then you become an influencer. B, I was actually telling this to a room on Saturday. I was giving a session and there were about 100 people. And I said that each one of us has one thought that we think is inspirational or out of the world or crazy or fabulous or, oh, I didn't realize this was connected to this. One thought a day. If you can just take that one thought and write 2 paragraphs on it, which is going to take you max to max 30 minutes. Why can't you do it? You can do it. And the thing is, a lot of people are scared about building a personal brand because their biggest concern is I don't have anything to write. And I tell them कि भाई एक thought दिन में नहीं आता है तुम्हें कि कुछ तो सोच रहे होगे या तो you had an interaction with somebody या तो you learned something new about your industry or you learned a better way to do something. One thought, right? One thought, 2 paragraphs. Right? And you don't need to have proper perfect English. You don't need to put full stops. You don't need to be careful about your commas. Spellings obviously autocorrect to hai, so don't make spelling mistakes. But even if your English or whatever language you choose to write in is not 100% prim and proper, that's okay. That's okay. That is authentically you. Because the bigger problem is going to happen when you meet someone face to face. If my English or my LinkedIn is so proper, Queen's English जैसे बोलते हैं, and I come here and I can't form a correct sentence, there's going to be a gap where this person is going to be like, something is off. And to make that connection is not hard. So whatever you are, just authentically be that person on LinkedIn. Nobody is saying you have to fake it to make it. And you will become an influencer only if you write. तो अगर आप लिखोगे नहीं तो influencer कैसे बनोगे? So that's the logic.
Okay, so that was the end of this segment. I will say that this segment was not that much funny, but very, again, insightful segment. Normally, this segment is the funniest part. Now we will move to the last segment of this podcast, that is the secret to success. Where normally, whatever you have done till now, maybe there are lessons which you have learned in a hard way. And that one piece of advice which you want to give out to our viewers who are basically the aspiring entrepreneurs, what that would be?
Number one, find a mentor who is truly aligned to your goals and your vision, and is not somebody who's going to tell you what to do, but instead inspire you and give you the tools and ammunition that you need to do what you want to do. A good mentor is someone that aligns with you, not the other way around. And the only reason I say that you have to pick a good mentor is because this person is going to change your life drastically. And I can confess to it because my mentor is Saurabh, the one who I started and I told you about in the beginning. He made me quit my job. He was like, try it out for 3 months. I called him up after 3 months. He's like, try another 3 months. Uske baad I figured out कि ये redundant conversation है. But through the entire journey, he has had my back. Like something fails, I go to him and I say, what did I do wrong? What can I do better? Something is a success, I go to him still saying, why did this happen? What did I do right? So he is someone who aligns with me as a person and as an individual, which is why we get along really well. And I feel like his mentorship is helpful. Because if I want to go here, he will go in the same direction with me. He won't say that there is a better route, you go from here. That's not the goal of a mentor, right? Unless you're way off, right? But I'm saying like I'm a sane person who knows where to go. So somebody who's going to guide me and work with me is what I was looking for in a mentor. Second thing is, as I have learned being an entrepreneur for the last about 4-5 years now, time is your biggest asset, right? You are gambling against time. You have to learn how to manage your time. And when I say manage your time, I mean split up your day into parts so that everything happens in the same day. Because I know personally, right? Like if I don't have time for self-care, be it something simple as writing my LinkedIn post or writing my gratitude journal or doing my chants or anything, right? That I truly feel belongs to me and makes me me and out of work. If I don't do that, I feel very lost. So everybody, all of us have the same amount of time. And nobody has ever said that the secret to success is working for 23.9 hours. That is not the secret to success. We all have to sleep for 7 to 9 hours depending on your body. Everybody is different. Just because the internet says 7 is optimum, that might not work for you. And at the same time, business happens, but then you have to understand yourself. You have to optimize your time. Because again, another thing is, all of us have attention spans. I'm not a morning person. So like I generally like to do really dumb work in the morning. Afternoon is when I'm peaking because I've eaten, I'm hyper, I'm excited, I've done some basic work, right? So that is how I structure my day. Because I have learned, because I tried to wake up in the morning and be like, now let's go do this like big brand strategy. That didn't work for me. My biggest ideas and my biggest revelations and all of that happened in the afternoon. So I have worked my time around it, saying morning I will do invoicing, client servicing, ye karo, wo karo, all of that stuff. Get on a call, do lead gen. Ye sab morning mein karo. Afternoon mein is when I'm the most productive. So I'm going to block that time out and not do anything where I have to talk to an external party. And then after that, the rest of the day is for doing whatever I want to do. Go for a walk, read a book, listen to a podcast, whatever it may be. And every part of your life needs to have that amount of time. And unlike, I don't have a family per se yet. So like I don't have kids, I don't have responsibilities. But then when that happens, then there is work-life integration, and
Yeah.
you can't ignore that part of your life to become a crorepati one day. That's probably not going to work out in the long term. So I think we're all fighting time. Time is your biggest asset. If you learn how to master time, you will actually win the game of business.
Great. So that was a great piece of advice to all of our viewers. So if someone watching you and wants to connect with you, maybe it could be a client or maybe someone who is seeking mentorship or seeking some kind of clarification, how they can connect with you.
LinkedIn is the best. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I am starting to get active on Instagram.
Okay.
But LinkedIn is very, very active. You can go there, find my links. There are a lot of links to book calls with me, as well as sessions. I
Okay.
do a lot of sessions, workshops, a lot of cool stuff for entrepreneurs. So that link is on my bio. You can check that out. Or yeah, just ask someone like you. Just be like, I know you know Vanchika.
Yeah.
Referral de do, and that's another option.
Okay. So thank you for giving your precious time to our
I'm
podcast
glad.
and mostly for our viewers. I'm sure that this episode is going to be very very much valuable on the for anyone who is starting the business or maybe started their business for 2 3 years. Wanted to know about how branding makes a play, because I personally believe specifically after launching of Shark Tank, people are now more conscious about building a brand even if from the first day. So to summarize our podcast today, whatever we have done, so we started with basic the definition of branding to how the team alignment should be there, how everyone should think on a same direction. Then we talk about a LinkedIn thing, which is again it's my personal thing, because I wanted to have that kind of a reach, you can say, or getting the clients, because every post, whatever we do on a social media or any place, there should be a reason. It should be either you wanted to make a lead or you want to make an awareness. Many time I found that many social media agencies, they just get lost. They just wanted to do this, so they will do this. They don't have any agenda. And in the last, like you mentioned about the mentorship, I also believe that every successful person must have one mentor, because with mentor you can achieve what maybe it will take 10 years to you, maybe with a mentor it will take 2 to 3 years, and that is the biggest difference which any mentor make in your life. So again, thanks for giving your time.
I'm glad. I'm really honored, and I hope that a lot of people watch it. I hope they share it with their friends, and I hope that we have conversations outside this.
Yeah.
Because I truly feel that if you felt something after listening to this podcast, you will take the effort to reach out, and
Correct.
always happy to chat. So if you see it, you like it, do reach out.
So viewers, that is it for today. Stay tuned to our channel.